too.
Yeah, we do.
Some behind the scenes.
So both, like B-rolls plus.
Some behind the scenes.
On the news, Nvidia dropped big time.
Yeah, that's because of the deep seek thing I was telling you about. What's going on, man?
What
How
are
you doing?
What you been up to?
Man, it's the usual. Working, taking care of these kids. They're amazing, but they're expensive as hell. Expensive as hell.
You know what that makes you, right?
A dad.
A dad. And more creative.
It makes me
More creative on how to make that money.
a bank.
A bank?
A bank.
Nah.
I'm a bank. I'm a bank that doesn't get any
Credit.
anything, any returns or anything of that nature.
You will. It's the long-term investment.
I get return on love, right? It's love. It's right. It's love. It's love. Why does love have to cost money? It's beautiful, but it's expensive. Or does it? Why does love have to cost money? Or does it?
Why does love have to cost money?
Yeah.
Or why? That's the first question I get to ask.
Does this
We
kid
live
have
in
to
a
ask me such
society
hard
that
questions?
money talks. Money talks.
Yeah.
And we do a lot of crazy things for money. You ever do some stupid stuff for money? I have. I used to sell knives. Bro.
Sell knives?
Cutco knives. The Cultco.
Like
Right here in America, always have been. And today, hundreds of Cutco team members craft each knife with an artisan's eye for quality and detail. This level of craftsmanship
Money,
is one
though,
of the
right?
reasons that
You know,
every Cutco knife.
what's going on with this, with the politics and the economy and all that stuff, and immigration and how you feeling about all that? I was thinking like, here's what I was thinking about this.
What specifically?
Well,
The fact that you can't be a citizen anymore if you're born here?
that doesn't bother me.
Okay.
That doesn't bother me. I think what bothers me is that he's taking all these people out that already made it here. Like, I feel like if you went through the trouble of making it here, right, and you got here, I feel like you should be able to stay. Like, close the border off, like, now. Like, yes, maybe say
If
don't
you
let
already made it, you made it.
Yes, don't let everybody that's already made it here close the border off. But I think they're spending way too much money on getting people out of here. Let's keep them here.
Utilize what we have.
Yeah, because like we need people that's gonna work. We need people that's gonna field picking the fruits and the vegetables.
I was just waiting for you to say picking
cotton, right? I was like, damn. But like picking the fruits and the vegetables, building the houses and paving the roadways. We need that. Like a lot of Americans aren't gonna do those type of jobs. So I'm saying the people that's already here, let's give them opportunities to make some money and work and all that stuff.
The kitchen ain't gonna run itself.
Exactly.
Right? The back of the kitchen needs to run it.
I went to IHOP the other day. And I was concerned because there wasn't that many people working in the IHOP place. And I'm like, man, it's really getting serious out here. It's really like
The workforce is
it's dwindling down.
It's dwindling down because we're exporting all of them.
But I do like what's happening with the whole like decreasing the I guess the welfare and all that stuff, because I feel like this is going to force a lot of people to go back to work. So maybe in a couple of months, once everything kind of settles in, people are going to start going back to work. It might settle out, might even itself out. Who knows? But yeah, what's going on? What's your thoughts on that?
On people going back to work?
Just the whole everything. Trump being in office, the world is changing.
The world is changing.
Getting rid of income taxes.
I don't know if that's gonna fly.
Oh man,
that's not gonna fly.
If he gets rid of income
that's not
taxes,
gonna fly.
I'm voting for him for a third time.
That's not gonna happen.
But could you imagine, as a nurse, you getting your whole check? You get your whole check.
Right now, I pay in taxes what some
God.
people make an entire year.
A salary.
A salary.
A salary.
Yeah. So if I actually made what I make on paper, I wouldn't complain about my student loans.
Me neither.
I wouldn't complain about inflation. I wouldn't complain about
Trump, to me, is the man. if he actually does this, Trump, if you listen to this, if you do this, I'm a black person, as you can see. But you're the man. You are the man, Trump. If he actually gets this Man, listen. Third term. I don't know how you gonna make it.
No.
Third term.
No. That's when the finger comes out. No. That's when the finger comes out. No. No third term, bro. No.
If he gets rid of income taxes,
We're not changing. The fundamental. This is a slippery slope. As a Middle Easterner, I'm gonna call timeout here. We're gonna reset this.
King Trump.
King Trump is not coming to fruition. I'm so sorry. All right, and I come from a culture that admires certain kings, and I revere them, and I love them, and I wish them the best, and whatever. But King Trump ain't it, bro. King Trump ain't it. It ain't it, bro. It ain't it. It ain't it. No. No. See, the finger comes out again. No.
Nah, I get it. I get it. From your situation, from your story, and I don't know if you want to give a brief story about your story, but I get it. But no income taxes.
If you look up corruption, if you look up the Middle East, if you look up North Korea, if you look up China, capitalism won. Okay, they all have it, and maybe not North Korea so much, but even in Iran, right? Even in these other countries, capitalism won. In China, capitalism won. That's not socialism. That's not communism. The way. If they look at them, that's a modified version of capitalism. Their version of it. Our version, slightly different. Capitalism won, all right? We understand this. We need to make it more so we don't end up with slave mentality. So we don't end up utilizing our workers in a way where we squeeze them to the point of no return, where we fantasize about having no type of tax for income tax, and bring back the king and stuff like that. Look, in the Middle East, in Iran, in North Korea, in China, in places like this, corruption takes over. Corruption becomes absolute. And it's a slippery slope, and it becomes a boys' club. It becomes an evil little club. It becomes an Epstein club. You don't want that type of, it becomes another Me Too. I'm telling you, you don't want that bigotry to come out. You want a place of thriving, of incentive, of, you want to use your assets, however you take that for your growth opportunity, but you don't want that, bro. You don't even joking about it. It's funny, it's hilarious, but the eyes.
I want my whole check. I want my whole check. I want my whole check. I'm tired of this. Imagine. I could just imagine. I would just like you said. I would not worry about my tuition, my student loans. I wouldn't worry. Having my whole check would change everything. But I get what you're saying.
But think about it though. You create a society where corporations will become so squeezing that you eventually, as the worker, the consumer of that, right, of that society, you'll get so squeezed that it's going to come back and bite you in the butt. I always said it. What I always say, capitalism is a snake that eats its own tail.
Right.
If it's not properly controlled, if there are no safeguards, if there's no humanity aspect of it.
But there are no safeguards.
But we are the safeguards. We are human beings. We are conscious human beings. We are the safeguard. We are what needs to become that safeguard, right? All jokes aside, we need leaders to come into play and say, look, as a leader, I'm here to set an example for everybody to behave, right? So I get it, right? And I don't harp on this stuff, but there is a decorum of consciousness that needs to be maintained. When your president comes out and says, I'm going to grab people by the hoo-ha, right? Explicitly, and we, vote for him, that's our God-given freedom as Americans to be able to do so, and we should always protect it. Fine. But that doesn't mean that decorum of becoming normalized of bad behavior or corrupt behavior should ever be tolerated either.
No, I get.
I don't trust in humanity. I trust in accountability. and accountability. I don't trust humanity. Humans are lazy, right? They are self-serving.
Yes.
They are opportunistic.
Yes.
This is why we have survived and grown as a species.
Yes.
But we're also conscious. If you're religious, you think that, you know, God has given you this brain or this morality or this incentive, right?
Yes.
I'm calling a spade a spade. Stop bullshitting yourselves. We are given this beautiful brain. We need to use it.
Right.
Right? I need to create policies as a leader to come in, and when I talk about your life, for the betterment of your life, not because of my profit.
Right.
Right? Or else I'll make you create a schedule, no overtime, work 8-9 days or shifts in a row, 12 hours a day, 10 hours a day, and I'll make it such that you don't even have to pay out overtime for this.
Diabolical. So,
Am I wrong?
well, no. Listen.
People have left jobs because of this. Am I wrong?
No. You're absolutely correct. It is a very real thing. I know of a company that has done something very similar to their employees, and everybody's up in arms. You know, I've left the company because of that. Because of the people, the company is so caught up on profits over the people that, to me, it's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting, and we've gotten to a point where I agree with you. There has to be some type of a line drawn on the sand. What I fear about the capitalistic engine that we are in America is that there is never going to be a line.
But there is.
How?
Me, you, everybody else who watches
But how does
this.
that get to the White House? How does that get to Capitol Hill? We have to
demand
vote
it.
them in there.
We demand it. Exactly. So it takes time.
Yeah, well, that's
It takes
the part.
time.
It takes time. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I hate to say it. It takes time.
Yeah. Nothing's gonna happen overnight.
Nothing's gonna happen overnight. Right?
Right.
You know, I told you, we have this profession. I believe this. I truly believe this, not just a talking point. We live in a society, and we're privileged enough to be in a profession that we get to interact with people at their worst time, and at the same time we can have these human conversations with. All these companies talk about, you know, these 5-minute sit downs, and, you know, they talk about, you know, making a impressionable way of, you know, getting their employee to make that connection with the customer, the patient, essentially, so we can get these positive feedbacks.
Convinced that the companies just say that it's all smoke and mirrors, because anybody that's a nurse or anybody that's in the healthcare field that's working in a hospital, who has time for those 5-minute sit downs? Who has time for those patient interactions where you actually make a meaningful difference in the patient's lives? I don't think there's a high percentage.
It's in your workflow. It's how you prioritize your workflow.
So you mean
It's
tell
how
me,
you're
as a nurse practitioner, working in it, and I know where you work, you have time to really sit down with those patients and connect with them on an emotional, human level? You have that time? Every day?
Interact with a patient, I follow 5 or 6 simple things that gives them the impression or the illusion, however you want to call it, of that human interaction. Now, do I make a human interaction connection each and every single time?
Mm-hmm.
No, not humanly possible. Do I have time for it with every patient? No, I don't have time for it. It's not humanly
But you get
possible.
it where you fit in.
Where I get it is where I fit it.
Okay. That's great.
That's a very simple thing I can do. That it might be one person, but that's one person that can affect another person. When I talk about waves, that's what it is. It propagates 1 to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 8, 8 to 16, 32, 64, 128, 256, 512. And that's just doubling.
Mm-hmm.
If you go exponentially, think about it even more.
Right. So what I'm gathering from this conversation is you do what you can when you can.
Yes, that's all you can do. To think that you can fix everything all at once, and this applies to any aspect of your life, you will become overwhelmed, you'll throw your hands up in the air, and crazy antics of, you know, rhetoric come out, you know, these flagrant generalizations come out and go, well, I can't fix everything, or, well, this and that. You control you, I control me. And when I interact with a patient, I look them dead in the eye, I have a conversation, I stop talking, I ask them open-ended questions. That actually does work. I ask them open-ended questions. I let them speak. I try not to speak over them. That's one of my biggest things that is my fault. But with my patients, I really try. I let them talk. I sit down when I can in front of them.
I think ultimately I'm just frustrated with the system. I think that...
But the system is always going to be broken because it's profit managed.
And that's the part that I think that there's a fine line between. Where do you draw the line between... And this is for really a company. When does the company say, all right, you know what? I know I want profits. I know I have to make these board members happy, but I also have employees that are burnt out. When does a company say that?
It takes a CEO, a CNO. There's this thing on Big Think, and I have to look it up and I'll show it to you, about managers. Managers, and she created this new word for it. I'll find it and I'll splice it in here. Where you're a leader and a manager at the same time, a manager or something like that, okay? In order for you to be a leader, what is a leader, what is a manager? And are they both the same thing?
If you're a manager or a leader and all you do is dream big dreams and think and talk about the future in lofty visionary terms and you don't actually get anything done, everyone is going to hate you. And meanwhile, if you're a person who's in the trenches and all you do is sort of the logistical, tactical, this is what we do tomorrow, grunty stuff, and you never go up to the mountaintop and say, here's our vision, everybody is going to hate you.
Right? And, not to cut you off, but becomes that translational.
Part of what makes you very good as a person running a team in the manager role is to be the simultaneous translator between your team and the people up there. When I see simultaneous translators at the UN and I see them going back and forth translating a conversation between, say, the Chinese delegation and the Bulgarian delegation, and you can see how exhausting this is, I think, yeah, that's the work of a good manager. That takes diplomacy, it takes courage. It's more than being a messenger, because when you're a messenger, you sort of drop the bomb. You say, this is what they're saying up there, and you just sort of keep your poker face about it. Or you go up to the top and you say, everybody really wants to work from home 2 days, blah, blah, blah. And then you just sort of stand there and you act like Switzerland, you're neutral. The really good manager, they are not just doing that. They are explaining both groups to each other, and they're taking a stand. I mean, the worst thing in the world is a fingerprintless manager. Leave no sign of what you really believe, okay? Everybody comes to resent that. You sort of agree with the last person in the room. You've got to have conviction. It may shorten your career in some places, but at least you stood on your principle and your reputation for integrity will follow you.
No, I absolutely agree with that. I think at the end of the day, you really have to ask yourself, is this morally right or is this not morally right? Can I look myself in the mirror? Or can I not look myself in the mirror and do this? And I think, a lot of people, well, if they need the money, they'll do what they have to do, which is part of the reason why I do like healthcare in general, because 9 times out of 10 there's a shortage and you can kind of move around and go somewhere else if somebody pisses you off. Yeah. But it's management is definitely tough. I don't think I'm ever going to be a manager again after this.
But, never say never. Because a good manager takes these experiences, and a good leader, and
But the leadership part.
The leadership part is. But that's the thing, though. If even the board members want leaders who are capable of understanding this, because ultimately it's your profit margin, right? We talk about capitalism and we criticize capitalism, but at the end of the day, it's the best market. Period.
It's what works.
It works. No, it works.
It works.
Creates competition. It creates innovation. It creates all of this stuff. But it cannot be missing the human aspect of it.
You can't lose your humanity. Yeah.
You can't lose your humanity of it.
It's easy to do,
right?
so.
The profitability it makes sense. I get it.
Yeah.
but you shouldn't lose your humanity. If it doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense. If your rate of growth, but then that has to be across the board. That has to be the culture of executives. We had, when I was growing up in the 90s, we had this, and it was in my generation. I'm
42.
We knew of the CEO psychopath.
Your greatest fears have been confirmed. Your CEO is a psychopath. Well, according to a new study released by Bond University in Australia. Its research found that 21% of 261 CEOs had clinically significant psychopathic traits. That's 1 in 5, and the same as what you would find in a prison population. No surprise if you work in
You
finance.
were able to make these hard decisions without emotional implications, right? We chose wrong.
Right.
We chose wrong. We need to acknowledge that.
Right.
And now all these self-help books and whatever and all these things, right? We need to come back to the reality and go, okay, just the same way that we acknowledge biology, we need to go back and look at society and go, look, certain things don't make sense.
Yeah.
Granted, on paper it might make sense,
Yeah.
but that's still a human being.
Yeah.
And it's not an American versus Chinese. It's still a human being, because guess what? There's a billion of them. Eventually, when they all get pissed off and angry and whatever, they start moving out west, and and then you get migrations. Then you get all these, people from the south trying to come up, and because human beings don't like to be bullied, and they'll escape it. So mass migrations happen. So this is why I think warfare is bullshit, right? Like, it doesn't make sense. In this time of age, it doesn't make sense anymore.
Not to jump topics, but I'm happy you
Be my
mentioned
guest.
biology. And I think Trump recently made an executive order essentially stating that, there are two genders, male and female. And
This week, I will also end the government policy of trying to socially engineer race and gender into every aspect of public and private life. It will henceforth be the official policy of the United States government that there are only two genders, male and female.
I was always apprehensive about having this conversation prior to this, but I feel like
Now it's in the public.
I feel like now it's in there, and I can finally kind of give my opinion about it. And
You should always have that opinion, though.
listen,
You should always have the freedom to look. As an immigrant who ran away from oppression, there's nothing more valuable than understanding another human being's inner thoughts and understanding, right? That doesn't make you a bad person.
No,
right?
you should be able to
makes
have
you
an
that
opinion.
you have a different opinion. Exactly.
Yeah, you should be able to have an opinion and be able to voice
Right.
that opinion, but that wasn't the world prior to November 7th.
Well, that's why you got Trump, because you had a visceral reaction to delusion.
Yeah.
When you have a visceral reaction to delusion, other delusional crazy things manifest.
Yeah.
I.e., my little clown.
Yeah. But I'm happy. I'm happy that this is out there now,
So what are your thoughts on it?
I never did understand the whole in between you're male, you get to choose if you're male or female thing. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, listen, I don't really care. I don't really care. What I do care more about is what you're teaching the kids and what you're teaching my children and what you're teaching all the other little kids. I feel like just keep it the same way it's always been prior to this whole.
Explain yourself, though.
So what do I mean?
Like, when
I
you're
was taught-
teaching the kids,
I was
what are you
taught-
teaching kids? That it's bad to, like, if I'm a boy, is it bad for me to like a boy?
No. I
Okay.
mean the whole.
And this is how things can get misconstrued.
Yeah. No.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this is how people can take things and misconstrue it. Because I know that's not what you mean.
I have no issue
So,
with homosexuality at all. Whatever. Who you? Why do I care about who you sleep with? I can care less. I don't even care. I care about who I sleep with. Cause I love who I sleep with. And I'm pretty sure everybody who else loves who they sleep. Why would I want to ruin that? What I don't like is when whatever it is that you believe has to be imposed on children. For instance, the whole transgender people reading children's stories to kids. I personally would not want my child around that. I want my child to understand that, boys, if you're born with a penis, you're a male. If you're born with a vagina, you're female. Now, when they're older, you believe whatever you want to believe, but imposing things on children, I think, is totally wrong, in my humble opinion. And I think that there needs to be
So let me ask you a question, because you made a statement and I want to clarify. You said that if you're a transgendered person, you shouldn't be reading to my child.
I would not want that.
Okay, so if I'm a transgendered person, you don't want me to come around your children.
Not in this. No, I don't want that.
So if you have a friend who comes out and says, now I'm a female, that now I'm a male, or I'm a male, now I'm a female, stay away from my child.
My child, yeah.
Okay.
Why? Because children are, to me, they can't comprehend that stuff.
They can't comprehend it though. See, that's where I'm glad you said that.
How can a 4 or 5 year old comprehend that?
4 or 5 year old comprehend what? A 4 or 5 year old doesn't comprehend male or female.
But that's my point.
But that's the whole point.
But that's confusing them.
That's not confusing them.
A 4 or 5 year old knows mommy. A 4 or 5 year old knows daddy.
Correct.
They don't know why is daddy dressed like a girl.
It is your job. Good. It is your job as a parent to teach them that if you're born XX, you're a female. If you're born an XY, you're a male. If you're born with a penis, you were started off as a male. If you were born with a vagina, you started off as a female. Generally speaking, yes, there are different genetic variances and stuff like that, and that too should be taught. Okay, that's your biology, that's your genotype. How you express your phenotype, right? How you express your outwardly appearance, right? That can be a choice. You don't have to abide by the idea of me wanting to present myself as a male because I was born XY with a penis. If I want to dress up as a female, you can do that. As a 4-year-old, if you want to dress up as whatever, do so. You know why that's still okay? Because you still don't have an identity. You don't have an identity. We superimpose our own sexual identity on a child. As a child, we don't have a sexual identity yet until truly closer to puberty, where the sexuality aspect comes into play. Up until then, it's just pure imagination thought. Here's where it gets interesting though. This is where it gets interesting though.
Parents!
As a parent, you need to teach them this. This is what you need to teach them. Parents, you need to teach that people have different thoughts, and that's okay.
I have a question for you.
You do not get influenced by another human being's actions. You as a parent need to teach them that if your friend, if your sister, if your brother, if your mom, if your dad decides to behave in a way that's counterintuitive to the generality that exists in society, that's still okay. That doesn't change their character. That doesn't change their humanity. That changes their outward appearance that they're choosing to show you. That doesn't mean anything.
That they would say, you like Uncle Ruse, Daddy Ruse, Uncle Ruse. There was a man that came in. He looked like a man, but he was dressed like a female. He had a dress on.
A dress on.
You'd be okay with that?
I would be okay with that, because it gives you that opportunity to have that conversation. It gives you that opportunity to say, listen, look, this is what you were exposed. Let me help you process what you were exposed. And that's the reality. Do we help people process their surrounding, or do we make it taboo where that person is not allowed to exist or exist in reality? Right? I'm not going to be able to hide things from my kids or from my family.
Yeah.
It's not realistic.
I just think certain things shouldn't be exposed to a kid.
But how can you control that? That's not a
By
realistic
sending them to a
expectation.
Catholic school. Sending them to a Catholic
Send
school
them
where they wouldn't do that.
Send them to a Muslim school. Send
Well,
them
yes,
to
yes, yes,
send
well,
them
they
to a
would do
Buddha
that.
school. But why wouldn't they do that?
Because that's against
Okay, send
their
them
religion.
to a Catholic school so a priest can go, you know, coochie coochie with their coochie coochie, right?
Then they would get demolished.
No, they wouldn't.
By me. They would get demolished.
What's worse?
Listen, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying, but I
At the
feel like
end of the day, we're human beings.
parents should have a choice.
Parents don't have a choice.
And that to me is an issue. I think parents should have a choice about what their children are exposed to at school, and you know, if there should be a letter sent out to the parents before that teacher got there, and the parents should be able to
How is
decide.
that different than how is that any different than, you know, parents getting a letter saying that there's a Star of David that needs to be, you know, addressed, or the Allah symbol, or the Muslim symbol, or, you know, the black symbol, or the Chinese symbol, or the Japanese concentration camps again? Like, how is that any different, bro? How is that any different than saying, you know, let me send a letter home with somebody and say, you know, so-and-so's sexual preferences or how they identify needs to be publicly. Who cares? Like, who the hell cares? If a man dressed up as a woman comes to a 5-year-old and reads them a book, first of all, be worried about what book they're reading.
I would be. I'm concerned about
not
everything.
Not because of what they're dressed as, but because you want to find out the integrity of the book, not because of how they're dressed. That doesn't define their integrity. See, that's where it goes back to.
I'm both. I want to know why you dress
cannot-
like that and what's the book about. What's the book about?
Right.
And why you dress like
and
that?
you have that reason.
Yes.
And you have that right. You do. As a parent, you do. But to say that I want to be informed that so-and-so, why? Who cares? They get dressed. They come to you, have a conversation, be a parent. Help them process the reality of the world. The reality of the world is this. We live in a society that humans exist. We live in a society that different opinions exist, that different choices exist, that different, you know, people of different skin color exist, different cultures exist, right?
So you don't think that
Right?
we
No,
took...
right?
Right. But
Okay,
we
if
do.
that's
we
the
do
case,
exist. All
all these weirdness,
Yes.
people of disfigurements
Yeah.
exist.
Yes.
Elephantitis faces, you know, crazy cleft lip stuff, right? People who would have been in a circus freak show. They exist.
They do.
Skin blotches, all these black people, all these white people with these skin blotches all over their faces, freckles, right? It depends how superficial you want to make this.
Yeah.
Right? Somebody's sexuality is another superficial thing that we're choosing to harp on. It doesn't. That person who's dressed up, is that a good person? Is that a person that would
know.
take a bullet for your child if somebody tries to come into that school? Right? Is that person the type of person who would sit there and listen to your kid because they're having a moment of emotional breakdown? Do they want to see them succeed? Is that the type of person who says, listen, you're gonna be okay, you're good, you're a happy child, you're a good kid, that no matter what you decide in life, people will love you? That's the shit that I want my kids. Who cares how they're dressed?
I care.
They're superficial.
I care.
It's superficial.
I care.
It's
I
superficial.
think certain things need to be left for the adults and certain things need to be left for the kids. I feel like our culture is hypersexualized anyway, and you're just, you know, look what happened to Rome. You know, I think part of the reason why Rome fell was it was just so hypersexualized.
Rome fell because people did not have conversations of humanity, humility, and humor. People did not recognize their humanity.
Their differences and accept them.
They went the Greco-Roman mentality instead of the Persian mentality. Right? Let me call a spade a spade.
So there was homosexuals in Persia?
There's been homosexuals.
I know, but like,
forever.
was it like normal? Like I feel
Whether it
like
was
Persia now, or the
Persia
more
now,
modernized.
No, forget now.
That's what I mean.
You need to go back to. This was a time where, no, I don't think homosexuality was considered normal in the sense that it was normal in that.
Why not?
But it was never, because that wasn't biological. But that didn't mean that it was biological in the sense of reproduction, not biological because it does exist in biology. We talked about this before. In society and in animal kingdoms,
Yes, yeah.
sexuality is seen as a form of appeasement.
Yeah.
And a form of appeasement is a form of, rage control. It's part of biology.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it is. That's all it is. If I can shoot a hormone into you, and anybody who's ever taken these the semaglutides, Ozempic, Wegovy, whatever, all you fatties out there, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The moment you take that medication, you realize that your brain is the only reason you thought you were hungry
Yeah.
when you really weren't.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. No,
If I
see what
give
you're
you
saying.
oxytocin, right, you're gonna feel like you're in love, or you have that attraction towards that child or that
Right.
whatever situation.
Yeah.
If I give you certain medications, I will make you feel certain things.
Yeah.
It's arbitrarily created in your brain. We create these things for ourselves.
Wow.
We do this to ourselves.
Okay, I see
There's
what you're
no
saying.
reason why my superficial desires in life should be the end result of my character as a human being. My character as a human being is defined by my actions and my moralities, not what gets me off hormonally.
So yes, that is
Because
that sounds nice.
I got dressed up in a dress. I could be one of the most influential people in your kid's life that will help them grow to become the best version of
I
themselves.
need you to understand. Once
But
I saw
you're-
you in a dress,
but that's your bigotry.
I would.
That's your bigotry.
You would be with 13 feet
That's-
of my kid. You would be with 13 feet
Why
of my
not?
kid.
Why not? See that person's character first.
Yeah.
Why? You want this world to be a better place for your kid?
I do.
You as the adult have to make that choice and be that example and make that conscious, hard decision. And this is where leaders come into play again, to make that difficult decision to stand up to what's not the norm. If the norm says that I'm gonna make you work 10-hour shifts, right, 9-10 days in a row, and that's the norm, so who am I to buck the system? Because that's the norm, right? In Nazi Germany, it was the norm for me to turn the blind eye. In Iran, it's the norm for me to turn the blind eye. In North Korea, it's the norm for me to turn a blind eye. Bigotry starts small.
I don't think it's bigotry. I think it's saving the kids. All right. Yeah, man. So I was having like a moral dilemma recently. I think I was just frustrated with the healthcare. We kind of talked about like, the fine line between capitalism and nursing. And I realized, one day, and I don't know if I still feel like that, but I mean, I'm still like in this limbo phase. But I realized that I kind of dislike nursing now. I know that comes as to a surprise, but
You want to hear my first, the statement that I wrote for nursing school?
what?
And I will send this, I will publicize. If I can find the letter that says, why do you want to become a nurse for applying to nursing school? The very first line, I never thought I wanted to ever become a nurse. That was my first line of my essay
Okay.
of becoming
So,
that. So yeah, I get it.
So I became a nurse, for a couple of reasons. One of the reasons was I felt like I was good at science. I couldn't go to medical school because I had a daughter, so I needed money. So a lot of the reasons why I became a nurse, and not the only reason, but I would say one of the big pieces of reasons why was financial. As soon as I became a nurse, I started making some decent money. I started to be able to take care of my bills and take care of my family and do it like so. But I realized, being in this field for 10 plus years at this point, I realized that I shouldn't have done it for the money. There needs to be another reason, and I'm really trying to search for that reason. But to go back to the money aspect of it, you can't. I think this field, you have to care about humanity. There has to be some type of human empathy and sympathy for people. And I don't think a lot of people have that in this field. I think a lot of people went into it just for the money because it was not an easy way to make money, but it was like a lower barrier of entry than going to med school. I feel like
At least that's what they think, anyway.
Well, you don't have to go to med school and residency and all that stuff. And yeah, so in that sense,
No,
it's
right.
different.
You're right.
There's still a lot of school.
In comparison, it's easier
to get into med school.
to get into nursing school versus med school. Yes.
Exactly.
It's easier. Yeah, it's not easier to become a nurse than to become a doctor, but in a lot of ways, it is.
Right.
So yeah, depending on what venue you're talking about, yeah.
But I'm saying it to say, like, you're not gonna last in this field. You're gonna end up hating it if you're doing it for the money.
Yeah.
You're gonna end up hating it. And I kind of like really like I envy people that wake up every day and say to themselves, man, I love my job. I like wake up with excitement just to get up and go to work.
Yeah.
Like I envy that because I haven't felt that in a very, very long time.
So that feeling is not abnormal. And I think that feeling also gets misconstrued in a little way. The feeling of you wanting to wake up in the morning and I love my job, I don't think necessarily needs to be that you're doing your favorite job. I think you can artificially, if I want to use the word artificial here, but I think you can create that. I think you can create that sense of feeling, of loving. I'm enjoying the fact that I'm going to work, or at least I look forward to my work. I think you can create that aspect of it, and we can talk about that. But the idea of you getting into healthcare, nursing especially, just for the money, you'll burn out.
You're gonna burn out.
You're gonna burn out because you're gonna be put in situations where you're gonna make these type of decisions where it's going to put your morals and your values to the test. It's definitely going to put your back and your brain and your emotions to the test on a level where PTSD is a real thing, right? There's a lot of people who get, situational awareness. You're playing with people's lives. People are yelling and screaming. People are, people have bad days. People have good, you can feel guilty, you can be put in situations where you don't want to be in, both morally, financially, right? It's it's taxing.
Yeah, it is.
I'm rambling, but it's taxing.
Listen, I know we said this before on the show or in previous shows. You really can't do this just for the money. You won't last long at all. And why go through all that school if you're not going to last long? Figure out something else to do. This ain't for you. You're doing yourself a disservice. And I really had to sit back and ask myself, do I like this career? Do I?
So that's what I wanted to ask you about, actually. Because you and I have been trying to make this, these episodes and these series, because when you and I first met, we came to a conclusion that healthcare is this complex, hydra of a beast that is so integrated in society, but at the same time, people are so separated from it. And because of that separation, we think that society has become unhealthy because of it. Both because I don't think true healthcare is given to people. No. I don't think we take care of each other the proper way that we should be. I don't think society is, we've turned into another consumer product than we are a service.
Right. And that's where we're at. We're at exactly that. I think ultimately, I think the system is of capitalism requires just that, not really caring about the people or the person, or not doing the things that really give them true health. We're really caring about how much money can we make, and we're really caring about how much money can we make, and that's ultimately what I think I hate the most. I don't think I hate nursing or healthcare. I think the perversion of the industry is what I hate. for instance, preventative medicine. Yeah, we talk about preventative medicine, but are we really talking about preventative medicine enough? Because if we were, we would be doing things, we would be teaching that more, not teaching, let me give you a pill to make you feel better.
Right.
We would be teaching, hey, really exercise, get that sunlight,
Right.
drink more water,
Right.
really maybe stop eating processed foods, like that's what we would be
Right.
teaching. Instead,
So then we would have leaders like, and this is why, RFK Jr., whatever his name is, right? When he comes and talks about these things, I get excited about certain things that he talks about.
Right,
Certain
me
things
too.
scares the crap out of me, right?
Mhm.
But this is going back to that leadership thing. We need leaders who come and push the boundaries of normalcy,
Right.
if it's new normalcy or old normalcy or whatever the status quo is, push back against it and go, okay, maybe we're doing really well. Can we do better? Right? Or maybe we're not doing so well and we think we are. Can we regroup and rethink about this? Or maybe we're not really doing well. We know we're not really doing well and we need desperate help. Let's call a spade a spade. Let's get some help in here. That's what we need.
RFK and the food dye thing. Why are certain food dyes banned in Europe versus America? Why? Capitalism. Capitalism. The food industry lobbyists, throwing people millions of dollars to get this product on the shelf rather than really thinking to themselves, is this going to hurt the people that are going to be ingesting this 20 years down the line? They're going to be taking cancer medications.
So certain policies that matter then,
Right.
Certain policies matter. It can't be just like us pulling out of the World Health Organization.
So you didn't agree with that?
I don't agree with that.
Interesting.
We created the World Health Organization. It's our department, essentially. Yeah, it's called the World Health Organization. Yeah, we expect other people to contribute to it, but it's our thing. It's like the CDC. It's our thing. It's an American-made thing.
Yeah.
Why would I want to, shoot myself in the foot and not collect data from the world? Like, I need to know how the world is functioning, health-wise, disease-wise, right? The CDC works on America, but they also have implications around the world as well. So if you want to talk about, we don't want vaccines to be trialed here, you want to be that a-hole that wants it to be trialed in another country, well, guess what? That's where the World Health Organization comes into play.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Then we'll go trial it over there. If it's safe there, then it'll be safe here. But that trust it's our thing. It's ours.
Yeah.
It's ours, bro.
See, I'm really indifferent about it, to be honest with you, because I don't feel like we really care. We're really doing the healthy teaching and the healthy education in America. I can't
Because we're
I
not.
can't-
Yeah. Because I know. I get it.
Yeah.
Everybody's sick and tired of trying to save the world when we're not doing it for ourselves first.
Right.
I get that sentiment. I
Yeah.
truly do. But at the end of the day, though, there are certain things that cannot be compromised just because we're frustrated with other things.
Yeah.
It can't. I need to know, as a healthcare worker, I need to know that the rest of the world is having the same actions or reactions to the same drugs that I'm pushing here. Because guess what? You as my patient need to depend on that consistency across the board.
Yeah.
As a manager, want real change, you need to become that leader. And how do we change society? Everybody does this on an individual basis, over and over and over again.
Yeah, it takes the community, it takes the collective effort, it takes everybody kind of agreeing to that buy-in of what you're saying.
But is the buy-in something so foreign?
It's not foreign, but I think Americans are kind of like primed to be individualistic.
But
and
why?
Well, I just think that's just how
But-
how our culture was. I mean,
But-
or it's been for a while. It's about me, and I don't care about anybody else. It's just about me.
Me.
But ultimately, I think, in time, like we mentioned, that can change. It just takes that collective effort, like you're saying, caring for humanity. not going into the wrong professions for the wrong reasons, and understanding that we're all living the same human experience, people. The same human experience we're all living. That's why I do feel bad for these immigrants that are, getting kicked out. I feel bad for, the families that are being broken up as a result of it. Because I mean, at the end of the day, we're humans. And they're just trying to live a better life and seek better living conditions and make money and, be ultimately happier. But it comes with a cost. and are you willing to pay for it, or am I willing to pay for it?
We're all going to have to pay for it. We're all going to have to pay for it. If we're going to maintain a Federal Reserve, if we're going to maintain a centralized banking system, and we're going to maintain this type of capitalistic society, we're all going to have to pay for it. And we're all going to have to be okay with it, and we're all going to have to understand that, when we're not okay with it, we'll make some changes, but don't allow for craziness to propagate. Right? If you think it's wrong, speak up.
Right. Be brave enough and have the courage to speak up.
Be brave enough to speak up, because you're not alone. Because if you don't ever speak up, nothing will ever change.
And ultimately, you would want somebody to speak up for you if you're the one being marginalized and mistreated.
Wouldn't you?